Okay, welcome back everybody to Keek 60 Hotshot Adventures. Today we are actually working on the 60. Doing some maintenance today. I checked been having some sluggish acceleration. So I checked the map sensor hose that goes into the intake body there. So I pulled the hose out and I ran a piece of, whatever this is, 095 string trimmer line, ran that down in the hole, made sure the hole was actually clear and wasn't anything blocking it, so that was fine. Next thing I did is pulled this out. This is a intake sensor for airflow or something like that. MAF, I guess they call it, mass airflow sensor. And took it out, cleaned it with some electronic parts cleaner, made sure it was clean. And then I also cleaned right there. Try and do this. That is your EBP, exhaust back pressure sensor. I use, I think, like a 25 or a 26 deep well socket to get it out. And then I ran a long piece of string trimmer line. I don't know, probably a foot or something, coiled up there. Ran that down through the tube a couple times. And then, I know they say not to, but I did spray carbon choke cleaner into the exhaust back pressure sensor to clean it out. There was some gunk in there. If that ends up frying the sensor, oh well, I guess I'm buying a new one. And then, while I was already in here messing with sensors, right here, can't really see it, is your other intakes, I think it's an IAC2 intake air temp sensor or something. It's right there. That one was totally covered in gunk, so I just took that, cleaned it off with some carbon choke cleaner. Actually, I ended up having to let the tip of it set in the carbon choke cleaner to actually break it down so I could get it off, because obviously I'm not going to pick at it with a pick or anything, because the sensor that's in there is super breakable, I guess we'll call it. Anyway, so I cleaned all that. And then, so I did all those sensors. Haven't fired it up yet, because when I went to fire it up this morning, it went click. I'm like, well, that means the starter. Truck's got about 189,000, 180 plus thousand miles on it. I'm not the original owner. So I'm like, well, I guess it's time to do the starter upgrade. Checking out the forums, everybody says, you know, go to the 6.4 direct bolt in. But I'm like, well, price wise, I ended up going with a 2017 Ford F-250 6.7 liter starter. The form factor is identical. The only difference is this is the top bolt, towards the top bolt. This is about the 9 o'clock position when you're bolting it up, and then this is at the bottom, about, you know, the 6 o'clock. The only difference, like they say on the 6.7, this is the original bolt out of your 6.0 starter. And then this is one of the 3 bolts out of the 6.0 starter as well. However, they went to 3 of the same bolts for the 6.7, which happens to be an metric bolt M8 by 125 thread pitch, and I believe this was 40 millimeters long. So I went to the hardware store and I bought another bolt, same length. Now the problem, because this bolt goes through your transmission bell housing. So this goes to there. The hole is that size, not that size. So also picked up a nylon washer. That's not too long, believe this was, I forget what the sizing was. I can put that in the details. So now we're going to get this thing bolted in. I did end up going to AutoZone. This is the information for it, for the part number. So hopefully bolt this in and truck fires up. Apparently 3 times faster is what everybody's saying. So, I'll let you know. Alright, one thing to note while installing. The old bolt, when you put it in, there is you know, original play in it. It's not like a perfect fit. So when you go to put in your new bolt with your nylon sleeve, there will also be play unless you can find a sleeve that's, or machine it so it's perfect. And I ended up just using a small washer because the head is a little smaller than I wanted it to be against the backing, against this transmission mount. So I was like, you know what, grabbed a washer out of my bin, and yeah, so alright, we're gonna finish getting this tightened up. Alright, let's see what happens here. Of course, I unplugged the battery, disconnect the batteries for this, so got good fuel pressure. Let's see how it sounds. Definitely spun quicker, smoother, less struggle. Batteries were, you know, the usual 12.6 charged, but as soon as you cycle the key on, glow plugs hit your batteries. Amongst everything else, your vacuum pump. So your batteries will dip at some point. Mine dipped to about 11.8, unfortunately. They were new a year or two ago. Right, let's go ahead and try that again for fun. Let's see. Oh yeah, it definitely starts quicker since it's spinning faster and harder. It usually, I don't know, it definitely takes a few seconds longer than it does with this new starter. So, we'll call that a success. Alright guys, so in recap for this, installing a 6.7 starter in a 6.0, I quickly jumped on AutoZone's website. 6.0 starter would have been about 173 plus core. 6.4, as you see, 280, and the 6.7 was 205. So I ended up going with the 6.7. I bought, the one I got was for a 2017 Ford F-250 4x4 with the 6.7 in it. That was the price. This is the bolt. I just picked it up at my local hardware store. I'll put a link in the description if you want to buy it from Amazon. And this is the bushing. From my Googling, everybody says you need about an 8mm ID, about 12mm OD, by 15mm long. This was just something I found at the hardware store that seemed to work. But overall, I do recommend the upgrade. If you're not looking into going to, taking the extra time and finding the bolt, finding the bushing, then yes, the 6.4 starter is a much easier install. Disconnect your batteries, remove the bolts. All the bolts in the starter are 13mm, and at the top one at 12 o'clock I used a short socket with a 6-inch extension to get that one, and then I pretty much just used that to the one at 9 o'clock and then the one at about 6 o'clock. However, the one at 6 o'clock, instead of being the hex head being towards the front of the motor, it is on the back side pointing towards the transmission. I had to use they've been in there since it was OEM. I had to use a long ratchet to break it free. And to get the solenoid off, you just need a 16 millimeter for the power wire. You could use a short socket if you want, and a 10 millimeter deep for the solenoid, the small wire. And overall, the install went in just fine. It did seem a little tight on the bolt at 9 o'clock, but it went in fine. It didn't cross thread. The very bottom bolt with the having to get the new bolt. At the end of the day, it's there. It holds the starter. It's the third bolt at the bottom. It's not doing a whole lot of work in the sense of twisting action, in my opinion. But just wanted to do a quick recap on that, because I know it's a very talked about topic, so just wanted to recap on it. Later.